we are one of the only products that requires you to take off your clothes.
Side Hustle Show 73, How to Build and Monetize an Authority Site.
Welcome to the Side Hustle Show, where aspiring part-time entrepreneurs learn how to turn their side hustle dreams into reality. Because your 9 to 5 may make you a living, but your 5 to 9 makes you alive. And now, your host, Nick Loper.
Hey everybody, Nick Loper here. What's going on? Welcome to the Side Hustle Show. This is episode 73, How to Build and Monetize an Authority Site. And it's a good one because my guest, Matt Giovanisci, I'm just going to call him Matt G, is not involved in any sort of make money online space. He actually runs a site about pool care and does pretty well with it. And this week's show ties in pretty well with a new project I'm thinking of kicking off, kind of an authority site from scratch case study with some fellow side hustlers on the inside track. Several people have expressed interest in this so far, and I think this will take shape one of two ways. Either the authority site building will be the focus of the next class of the Inner Circle Masterminders, or if the applicants for that want to keep that as a broader group, we can do something totally separate, maybe priced similarly, or maybe with a one-time buy-in for accountability and access. Because I've got some risk here. I want to keep it a little bit close to the vest, at least at the beginning, but still open up the opportunity to the people who want to work with me can work with me. I think that'll be fun. Either way, like I said, we'll have some fun with it. And if either one of those is something you might be interested in, hit me up, nick@sidehustlenation.com. And if you're interested in joining the Inner Circle Mastermind for this next round, definitely get your application in at sidehustlenation.com/join. And do it quick because we're aiming to start around first part of October. And I say that not to imply that there's like a super competitive application or screening process, but it's just so I have some record of who you are, what you're working on, or what you want to work on, and then we can set up a quick call to see if it's a good fit. A couple applications coming in so far. Looks like it's shaping up to be a pretty fun group. So we'd love to have you be a part of it. So definitely hit me up on that. For this episode, I put together a free downloadable PDF with all my notes and highlights that you can grab at sidehustlenation.com/73 or in the episode description of your podcast player app. And here's Matt. Hey, Matt, welcome to the Side Hustle Show.
Hey, Nick, how are you?
Doing excellent. Thank you so much for joining me. Everybody, Matt is the founder of SwimUniversity.com, and he's the co-host of the ListenMoneyMatters podcast. He calls himself risk-averse, which is always good to hear from a fellow entrepreneur, although I don't know if I believe him because he's always putting himself out there in these rap videos, everything from pool care to investing, and the most recent one about blogging. Really cool stuff. So Matt, let's start with the Swim University site as kind of an authority site. I mean, it's personally branded. It's got your mug on the homepage. How did you start this thing?
I started Swim University a while ago. I've been in the pool industry since I was 13 years old. I worked at a local store in my town. It was a pool and janitorial store. So, and it was like a family-owned business. And I worked as a stock boy, and I tested water. And after that, I moved up to another company. And I had prior experience at 16 years old, which was strange to have, especially in the industry. So I got a job immediately for another company, and as I was working for that company doing the same sort of thing, it was a little bit bigger. We had a very interesting approach to how we taught pool care to people. So I worked with a lady, her name was Alice, and she was affectionately known as the pool Nazi to all of the customers because she smoked, and she had this loud, vibrant personality, and she would talk down to the customers, and they loved it. They loved her like yelling at them for not using shock in the pool. They would come in and say, "My pool's green." You're like, "You're doing it all wrong. How dare you?" And it was funny. And she got a following. And I was sort of like, she was my mentor. And we just had this interesting approach to pool care. We were funny. We were funny people. And we used analogies that no one else was using that we knew about at the time because we were in our own little bubble, pun intended. And I had this idea that, okay, so I know how to design websites and I know a lot about pool care. And I have a unique twist on teaching pool care. How can I marry these two worlds together? So I came up with Swim University, which was a website that I originally wanted to be a membership site. So the idea was that you'd go on, you'd pay a monthly subscription, and you'd learn how to take care of your pool. And I quickly realized that I don't think anyone would pay money to learn how to take care of their pool per month. So then I decided, okay, I'll just do it, and I'll make, I was like, oh, I'll make videos, and I'll write these articles, and I already know how to build the site, and I'll sell, affiliate links. And I had this idea like way long ago, like 2006, or 5, and I was saying, okay, well, if I write an article about how to get rid of pool algae, I'll put links to products that I personally recommend to get rid of pool algae, and that's exactly how the site was built. And I quickly realized that I am not a good writer, and I knew that for a while. So I tried writing as much as I could, and because I wasn't dedicating full time to it, because it was a side hustle thing, I wasn't very good at it. The website looked good, and the name was good, the branding was fine, and that logo has been the same since I started it in 2007. But yeah, I mean the quality of the articles were kind of bad, and I practiced a lot of black hat SEO stuff back in the day because that's all I knew, right? So it was pretty bad in the beginning, and I think that goes for anyone who's starting a website.
What did you do to turn things around?
Well, so I actually belonged. I have to tell this story because it's. I think a lot of people go through this. I started. I belong to a community called the Keyword Academy, and I'm not really sure if they're still in business or not. I would imagine they're not, and I don't know if they listen to podcasts and they're mad because I've talked about it a couple times. But they were teaching at the beginning this black hat stuff, which was writing these 300-word articles and putting them on these link farms. So basically submitting them to article directories, and other people within the community had these own little article directory sites, and we would just kind of pass like these 300-word 2-link articles back and forth.
Okay.
And I was doing 150 of these articles a month.
Oh my God, were you writing all that stuff yourself?
I was writing it, yeah. But you could write the same. So I would write about robotic cleaners because I was trying to rank for the term robotic pool cleaners. So I would write essentially the same article 150 times to like 250 times, saying the same thing but in different words every time.
That sounds horrible.
It was terrible. And then they also recommended a product called Unique Article Wizard, which was taking paragraphs and sentences that could be switched around and mass blasted to all of these article directories and stuff. So we were doing a lot of that. And guess what? It worked. I mean, I ranked #1 for robotic pool cleaners, and I was making money with affiliate links. I ranked #1 for pool care. I ranked #1 for a lot of these things. And then a few years later, maybe like 2 years later, I think it was Panda or one of the Google animals hit, and there it all went. I mean, I dropped in the rankings, although I was still ranking for other terms, but the big ones had all disappeared. And my traffic didn't drop significantly because I had started ranking for a bunch of other stuff naturally and not using, these spinning and black hat techniques.
Okay. Was it just a few pages or? Yeah,
it was just 2 or 3 pages that got affected because they were the only ones I was writing these articles for.
Okay.
And what happened was the change came when I was listening to Pat Flynn's podcast, Smart Passive Income, and because I was just kind of ingrained in it. I had left Keyword Academy because I had realized that during their time, they all of a sudden changed their whole method. So they were teaching all this black hat stuff, and then Panda hit, and then they freaked out. So they're like, oh, we have to change our entire business model because none of this stuff is working anymore.
Right.
And I'm like, you know what? I don't trust you guys anymore because you guys were telling me the wrong, you guys didn't even know. No one knew, right?
Right. And that's the thing with SEO. It's such a guessing game. What works one day may not work the next day.
You're right. And I studied SEO. I mean, I had stacks of books on SEO. What a waste, I think. That I mean, it wasn't until I was listening to an episode with Pat Flynn, and he was interviewing Corbett Barr of Fizzle now, which at the time was thinktraffic.net. And I was really interested in getting more traffic, as pretty much anybody with a blog has that issue. And I thought what he was saying was really important, and I liked it. And his mantra is write epic shit. That's his mantra, not my words, right? So I immediately went to Think Traffic. The design was awesome. It was one of the best design sites I'd seen at the time. And I absorbed all of it. I just read every single thing he had written. And I thought, okay, this is it. This is what I have to do. And I was still working a job. So this is still a side hustle for me. And I thought, okay, you know what? I'm going to stop writing these little crappy articles. I'm going to write really long, really in-depth posts about pool chemistry and cleaning and everything that goes into taking care of a pool. And when I started doing that, all of a sudden traffic started to rise, but not quickly. It went slower, right? But I started ranking for these long tail keywords I had never ranked for before. And then I started doing video because I had sat down with myself and realized that if I owned a pool, would I want to read an article about getting rid of algae, or would I want to see somebody actually do it? And of course, the answer was the latter. And I started, I went out, bought a camera and bought a wireless mic, and I started making my own videos. And that was the biggest turning point for my site. That's when it went from a side gig to a full-time thing.
Yeah, that's really, really fascinating stuff. Kind of the different shifting in tactics from, the article spinning stuff to the, okay, now I'm actually going to write stuff that would actually be useful to people. And then, even taking it to the next level. Hey, what's everybody else not doing? What can I do to serve my audience even better? Doing these video demos, video tutorials, really, really cool stuff. What kind of traffic levels are we talking about? Or I guess in what year are we talking about quitting your job?
Well, I didn't quit. I got fired.
Oh, okay.
So
I was going to ask, did your pool employer take any issue with you running this site on the side?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. So what happened was I had made a conscious choice while I was working at the corporate office, and I had this site beforehand, right? So I had worked at 2 other pool companies prior to working in corporate, and I had the site and it was fine. And I wasn't telling people to buy things online. I would always tell people in my articles to go to their local pool store, get their water checked, stick to one pool store, stick to someone you trust, whether it's my site or the store. Okay. It doesn't matter. That was my mantra throughout the site, and still is today. And what happened was I had started working at the corporate office doing, all the marketing stuff, and I started doing side gigs of designing other people's websites and other businesses locally in the area. And one of the other local businesses that I had gotten through Craigslist, he said, I want you to work for me full time. And he offered me more money than I was making at the current job. And I said, okay, that's fine. I'll go back and talk to my boss. So I went to my boss and I said to him, I got another job offer, but I'd like to stay here. Could you pay me more? Okay. for lack of whatever I said at the time. And he goes, yeah, give me the weekend. I'll think about it and I'll get back to you on Monday. Okay. So I come in Monday morning and he's like, come into my office, sit down. All right. I sit down. He goes, I'm really disappointed in you. Why are you disappointed? Well, because I went through your computer and I Googled your name and I noticed that you have this site called Swim University and you've been on Martha Stewart's radio show talking about swimming pools and taking care of it yourself. And what really got me was you wrote a guest post on a site called fireyourpoolguy.com.
Wow.
And yeah, and I said, well, I didn't mention the company. I didn't say anything wrong. I just was talking about closing a swimming pool. He goes, yeah, but you don't see it's a conflict of interest. And at the time, I was working on an online store for the company, and I had this thought that I would, leverage Swim University to drive traffic to the store to help the company. And I said, I'm going to keep my mouth shut now because he's firing me, even though I have another job lined up. I have a job that's making more money. You're firing me for no reason at this point. Why are you doing this? And I just kept my mouth shut, and I just went, okay. I realized that, you don't see the value in what I do. You don't see that, I'm creating this little brand for myself, and you could be leveraging that, but he didn't. So I went to work for this other company, worked there for a couple of years, and then he had let me go. And that allowed me to collect unemployment, which was a godsend. And I said, okay, you know what this means? This means the government is giving you a loan to start your own business. And that's the way I looked at it. So I took all the money I could from the government, did it for 1 year. And I said, in 1 year, you have 1 year to make this business successful. After that, you're on your own. Just sat down and I did videos and I wrote big articles and I did infographics and I just kept writing and producing as much content as I could for Swim University during that year.
That's a fascinating optimistic way to look at unemployment, a government loan to start your own business. I've
Yeah.
never heard anyone phrase it like that, and I really like
They're
that.
actually doing that now too. So there's some programs out there that are using unemployment as, for entrepreneurs.
It's like, this is your bootstrap fund. Okay.
This is it. Yeah. Yeah. And at the time I had a BMW. I was driving a really nice car. I had a mortgage for a condo that was brand new. So I had a lot of stuff that was floating around. And what I ended up doing was I was really bad with money. And I don't know how far you want to go into the story, but I was really bad with money. And I knew that if I was going to do this and I was going to take money from the government, I needed to seriously downgrade my life because a lot of people looked at me as a freeloader, right? Because I'm on unemployment for an entire year, and they're saying, well, when are you going to go to get a job? My mom's like, when are you going to get a job? I said, you don't understand. I'm never going to get a job. This is it. This is all I have. This is what I'm working towards. And I, to not look like a freeloader, I sold my BMW and just bought a really cheap Honda Civic. I rented out my condo, moved in with my brother, paid $500 a month. My cost of living went from $3,500 a month to $1,500 a month, which includes gas and food and everything I need to survive.
Yeah.
And I just said, okay, this is it. Like I bootstrapped my personal life. I bootstrapped my business. This is it. So I just went full steam ahead. And as of, I think it was this time last year, I unemployment ran out, and that was it. I'm like, all right, this has to last me now. And it's been a year, and I made good money this year, and I can now do what I want to do, and it's great. And I would not trade it in for the world. I would not trade the experience in. The unemployment was super helpful. I don't know if I could have done it without it because I had no savings, and I started learning about money, which helped me, save. Basically, I just stopped spending money. That was the whole thing.
Right. Oh, that's a really fascinating story. Just like that's the perception of people who are on unemployment. Like, when are you going to get a real job? It's like, well, maybe I can leverage that into something else. That's what it's intended to be. Is kind of like a transition period. And it sounds like you definitely made the most of it. So on the site, you mentioned some affiliate links. Is that the main monetization method for it?
No, that's half of it. The other half is I sell advertising space to other pool companies.
Okay.
So, I have 2 spots that have 4 rotating ads each. One's an upper spot, one's a lower spot, and I charge. I don't know the prices. I change them every year because the traffic keeps going up. But yeah, I go to a lot of the conventions, the pool and spa shows that are not open to the public, which you would think they would be. That's another area of mine that I'm trying to fix. But I go there and I sell my advertising, and it's usually the same advertisers every year because they like what I'm doing, and it's the progressive companies. So I do that. That makes half of my income of the year, and then the other half is through affiliate links. And I recently switched from I was using one company. There was a company that sells pools and spas supplies, and I was going through LinkShare. Right?
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. And then I found out that Amazon pays more. They have a higher commission, and they have way more products. So this company didn't sell toys or like any floats or any fun stuff for the pool. And I was writing a lot of articles about, swimming with dogs and what to do, how to use noodles but outside the pool and all these different things that I thought I can have a lot of affiliate links in here. So Amazon actually paid more and had more product. And of course they were trustworthy.
Right,
and
probably convert better.
It converts way better because it's Amazon. It's a trusted site. And so I switched to Amazon in January, and then sales went through the roof. I was like, okay, that was the best move I've ever made.
Wow. Okay. Really cool. Let's talk about the private advertising for a second. Do you just reach out to the companies directly? Hey, I've got this banner spot available on my site. The traffic is X, and the price is X.
Yeah.
Do you want to go for it?
Yeah, so you know what really helped was the rat video that I did. So I did a pool care rat video one year, and it spread like wildfire throughout the industry. So when I went to the conventions, they knew who I was because my face is all over it. My face is on the website.
Uh-huh.
I'd done a lot of work on I would contact companies and just, say, hey, do you want to work on an infographic together? Or, hey, would you like to work on an article together? So I would just build these business relationships with no intentions of ever selling them advertising. And then when I went to the show, this was great. And this is, I wish I had a method to this, but I don't. But when I went to the show, I was walking around and I was talking to one of the companies, and they said, "How can we advertise on your website?" And I said, I didn't even have a thing at the time. So I said, I don't know. Let me go back to my house and I'll figure it out. We'll find a way for you to advertise on the site. And then I walked over to another booth and I was talking to the woman who owns this company, and I said, yeah, I was just talking to this company down the way here, and they're interested in advertising. She's like, well, I'm interested in advertising too. And I'm like, okay. She's like, send me an invoice. I'm like, oh my God. So so now they're coming to me, and I really didn't have to do that much selling. It was really easy because a lot of people just liked what I was doing, because what I was doing in the pool industry was way different. I mean, there's nothing out there like it, and it still isn't, which I'm surprised about.
Yeah,
I'm surprised no one's tried to copy me.
That'll come. I'm sure.
I'm sure. Yep.
What are your traffic numbers like at this point?
In the summertime, this year has been insane. I get about 2,500 visitors a day.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that is some pretty serious traffic for people to want to get in front of, the advertisers to want to get in front of.
Yeah, and all the numbers that I had sold this year were based off of the previous year's numbers, and I was maybe getting 1,000 a day. Okay. So not really. So it's been a lot less. So actually now this year I'll be able to charge more, which I'm planning on doing in another month.
Cool. So what kind of rates do you charge?
Right now, I don't remember. I do. All right. So I remember there was a hot tub company, and they wanted 2 spots because it was one company, but they had 2 different brands, and they wanted 2 spots at the top. And I got, I think, $8,000 for that, or 8,500 for that.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was that. And it's for the whole year. So it's not like a crazy amount of money, but I think overall I made about $25,000 on advertising for the year.
Okay. Do you lock people into a year contract, or do you say like month to month?
No, I do a year because it's a seasonal business. So I like to lock them in, and they can change it. So a lot of companies, they do both. They'll do hot tubs and pools. So I say to them, you can change your ad. Just send me the new ad copy, or I do 300 by 250 banner ads, right? Okay. Send me the new image. It'll go up in a second. I'll do it in less than 24 hours. And some of them don't even send them in. Some of them do, and I change them for sure. Because there's companies that, like I said, sell both products. So in the wintertime, they'll put up hot tub stuff, and in the summertime, they'll put up pool stuff.
Did you ever try AdSense or anything like that, or did you always?
Yes, that's how I used to make money. Yeah, with AdSense. Okay. So it was AdSense and affiliate links, but it was mostly AdSense, and I was getting paid nothing. I mean, in my early days, maybe on a good month, $250. Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty weak.
I was sitting in on a blogging seminar, and a guy mentioned, hey, I was running AdSense in my sidebar, and then I kind of took notice it was the same advertisers month after month after month. If they're still advertising, they must be making money off these ads. Mm-hmm. And I understand that Google is taking half the money. Mm-hmm. I don't know what their rev share is, but assume it's half. It's like, why don't I just go sell them directly, the same ad space, and now I can double my revenue, and they're still happy because they're still making the same amount. And it's like, by going direct and locking people into these year-long contracts, especially as the traffic continues to grow, I think that's really, really smart.
And I think the important thing to note is I charge a lot for my ads because I am, since I'm so niched down, there's really no other places that offer advertising for pool companies to get in front of the consumer. Your ads not only are going to be clicked by pool owners, but when they're on the site, they're going to be seen by pool owners because no one's coming to my site unless they own a pool or a hot tub. There'd be no reason to go there.
Yeah, and it's probably the same for, hopefully a lot of different niche industries where it's like you can, maybe you can command higher rates, right? Because you're reaching that exact target market.
Mm-hmm. And I would say to do that. I mean, I definitely commanded higher rates, and and if a company didn't want to do it, I just go on to the next company. There's a bunch of them in the industry. So and I like the ones who are progressive. They're the ones that end up signing up.
Yeah. Now, aside from making a pool care rap video, which is a stroke of genius, right? It's like doing what the other companies in the space aren't doing, right? Like something that's going to get attention. This is purple cow stuff, right?
Yeah.
So what else? Like, how are you figuring out, what kind of videos to make, what kind of articles to write? Like, where is and is there aside from the article spinning stuff that doesn't work anymore, like
Right.
what else were you doing for SEO and how to get visitors here?
Well, I still practice SEO in my site design. So I did all the coding myself. I made it responsive so you can look at it on the web on a mobile phone or an iPad or whatever. So I figured a lot of people would be going out to their pools, looking up the information and looking at charts on my website, and they needed a mobile version of that.
Yep, makes sense.
So that was something I did. That helped a little bit with because I was getting a lot more mobile traffic, and I said, you know what, I got to design it for mobile now. SEO, I still practice. I still go in and tweak. I add some rich snippets so I have my picture appears in the search results. I make sure I get good titles, good descriptions. I don't necessarily focus on keywords too much anymore. What I now do is I try to write for the audience. When I started doing videos, I asked people at the end of every single video to, if you have questions, ask them on Facebook. So I direct people to our Facebook page, and they ask me questions either in a post or on a message, and I curate those, and then I turn them into posts. So if somebody asks me, I have a 10,000 gallon, or I have one of those small Intex pools in my backyard. It's always cloudy. What do? I'll write an article specifically for that person, but so that it will work for anybody that has one of those small Intex pools.
Okay, cool.
So all the ideas are really coming from like all the. There's two sides to the marketing of the site. So there's the site that is helpful for people. There's the articles on how to shock a pool, how to get rid of algae, how to, balance your water, all of these, technical side of things.
Okay.
And then there's the fun side, which is the rat video. I have infographics. I did an infographic that was called 50 Ways to Jump into a Swimming Pool. And I just sat down with a whiteboard and drew out every stupid jump I could think of. Even if it didn't exist, I did one called the Harry Potter where you put a pool noodle between your legs and you ride it like a broom. Like, it's just dumb stuff, right? And I did 50 of them, and I did them all like by drawing these little, bathroom characters or whatever. And that blew up. Like it went viral on the internet, and I got all this traffic. Now I'll admit that at the time, a lot of the traffic that was coming in probably wasn't people who own pools and hot tubs. It was people who because really anybody can jump into a pool, and anybody would find this graphic interesting. But I knew that going into it.
It's really, really well done. We'll link to it in the show notes. Now, did you design that yourself, or did you hire somebody?
I designed it. I came up with all the jumps. I came up with the rating system. I came up with the descriptions.
Yeah,
all
that's
that
like
stuff. Yeah.
You're multi-talented, because that one is really well done. It definitely looks like a professional infographic. That one, like you said, ended up getting picked up and tweeted by some big names, or it got shared around a lot.
Yeah, it did. So and so I'm a jack of all trades in that sense. I do all my own videos. I film them all, so I just use a tripod. I hook up the mic, and then I come home and I edit them. I do all the animations within the videos, all the sound effects. All the music I do as well. Obviously the rap video. All the infographics are done by me. All the writing's done by me. All the
if you're living with your brother, like, does he have a pool? Like, where are you getting the settings for these videos or the props?
So yeah, I have a friend that lives down the street from me who has both a pool and a hot tub set up. Okay, so I just actually I'm going over there Saturday to film a couple videos. So I text him and I say, hey, is it cool if I come over on Saturday, film some videos? He's like, sure. I just go there, set up my camera, do the video. No big deal. I'm in and out in a couple of hours, and then come home and edit them all, put them up. Yeah. So I do everything. And that's probably mostly because I grew up as a musician and somebody that liked to create stuff. So it's kind of been, I was always doing videos, not just for pools, but even before that, just fun videos with my friends. I did music with my friends. I did graphic design for myself, just, for MySpace and stupid stuff like that. So it was just, and then I decided like, okay, I'm good at all these things. How do I make money from this besides just doing client work? And then I said, okay, well, I have this pool knowledge. I'll marry these two worlds together. So what I do is the site has two platforms, which is the informative platform and then the fun platform. And the fun platform is what gets me links, because no one's going to want to link to an article about pool algae. They're going to want to link to the graphic about 50 ways to jump into a swimming pool. And then those links that are going out everywhere because people are sharing the infographic, people are sharing the rap video, all of those links come back and help me to rank in Google for the important stuff.
The how-to article.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, how many hours a week do you say you spend on it right now?
Believe it or not, I really haven't touched Swim University all year.
And we're recording this in first part of September.
Yes. I have another project that I'm working on that took up a lot of my time, and Swim University was growing, and I just saw it. I keep an eye on it, of course. I make sure I don't check my stats every day. I check them about once a month, make sure, if there's no issues, and I always go on the website to make sure it's not down, or, of course I'd be notified if it were.
I admire the willpower to only check once a month.
Yeah. Oh no, I have it deleted. I used to have the analytics in my toolbar, like in Firefox, and now I deleted it because I will check it every single day, every hour at most.
Yeah.
So I basically haven't really touched it. I think I did a couple of articles. But for the most part, yeah, I kind of I let it go because it was just doing well. And I said, you know what? If I don't touch it and it does well, great. If it starts to go down or do anything, I'll jump back in. But I do a lot of my writing over the wintertime. So that way I can prepare. So that way it gives it enough time to build up the link credibility so that when the summertime comes, it'll do well.
Okay. Gotcha. No, interesting stuff. Definitely, if you haven't touched it in 9 months or in 8 months, that's, I think that qualifies as passive income.
It does. It scares me though a little bit because I know that they say, you should keep your site fresh and do that, but I haven't really seen that cause an issue yet.
Yeah,
although
it doesn't, probably doesn't last forever, but like some of the articles are probably evergreen until some new technology comes out. Like if how to remove algae or whatever, like it's the same this year as it was last year.
It was, yeah, it is, and I've written a pretty extensive article on that with graphics and stuff, and I can even, and you know what, sometimes I'll even go in and beef up old articles because they're still valuable. I just, there's maybe a new technology that came out, or I filmed a video that has something to do with it, and I'll throw that video in. So it's not like I'm neglecting it completely. I'm going in and just cleaning up what's already there.
When you do that, do you update the publish date in WordPress?
I actually don't have a publish date. Okay. I don't display it on the site.
Well, even if it's not displayed, I don't know if this information can be crawled or whatever, but I have seen a spike, changing a few sentences or updating a few sentences and then updating the publish date to something, this week versus 2 years ago. And all of a sudden it'll jump up the rankings in Google. So I don't know.
I did not know that.
I don't know if they're crawling that stuff, kind of behind the scenes if it's not visible, but for something that's evergreen, it may not need to have the data on there anyways. They'll probably correct this by the time this goes live, but like there seems to be a recency component to the algorithm that's weighted pretty heavily.
Yeah. I read stuff all the time, and I've actually stopped trying to keep up with it because I just rather make a good site, and I feel like if I make a good site, people will find it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good takeaway for anybody kind of in the authority website building, the expert website building stuff. And it's a similar, like for Side Hustle Nation, like I haven't done any real like offsite SEO building or link building stuff, but there's been several articles where all of a sudden you see a spike or people will link to it, and you're like, well, that's fantastic because it's like a compelling storyline in a lot of cases. Like, oh, this guy got on the page of Fiverr, like that's random.
Yeah, you know what? I actually had a conversation about this with somebody the other day. I said, I bet you I could go in and build a site, never promote it, and I'd make money from it. So I have this like compelling argument of, I can, if I just put all of my time and energy into creating the absolute best user experience with the best content ever, not necessarily long, but just incredible, whether it's, I use the example of a beer brewing site since I'm a home brewer. There are no sites for brewing small batch beers because I live in a townhouse and I can't brew these, 6-gallon batches, 10-gallon batches of beer. So I thought, what if you just created something that was so awesome, like recipes with video and, infographics or just graphics to illustrate the steps and all these things, and you build that. And I think that if you were to just do that on your own site, never guest post, never tweet, never Facebook, none of that stuff, that somebody's going to find it some way, shape, or form, whether it's Google or what have you, and they're going to say, oh my God, this is the greatest resource I've found ever. And then they're going to share it or link to it somehow, or somebody's going to find it. And I think that, it really all comes down to your content. So there's even with, my current project, which is ListenMoneyMatters podcast, we have gotten a couple of links from Lifehacker, and we didn't pitch them.
Yeah.
They just found it and they just posted it. we built relationships with people that work there, but not for that reason. So it just happens that I think if you do good stuff, that people will end up finding it somehow.
And you're familiar with Mr. Money Mustache. You get to hang out with him later this month.
Yeah, and actually we talked to him yesterday. That was one of my interviews on the show.
Awesome.
Yeah, we had an hour long conversation with him. He was great.
And his big thing is like let the audience spread the message for you. If it's compelling enough, they'll do your marketing for you. And that's kind of why Apple advertises a lot, but like they also have a bunch of product evangelists. And
I think you need to kickstart it, right? So I had, I was talking to a guy and he was saying, well, you need to promote. You have to promote it. I said, well, yeah, but at a certain point, you're going to promote something that sucks. It's just not going to take off, right? So, when I did that infographic, I think I tweeted it and Facebooked it, and then I emailed it to a couple of people in the industry, and that was about as much promotion as I did. And then Guy Kawasaki from Apple found it, and then he put it on his site, he tweeted it, he Google Plused it, whatever the hell.
Yeah. And
it went crazy. And I was like, well, how did it get in front of Guy Kawasaki? How is that possible? I didn't email him.
Right.
But good content will spread.
Yeah, and it's difficult to kind of put your faith into that, and you want to do some hustle. You want to get do what you can to spread the word, get it out there.
I know.
But it's still got to be I think you're onto something. If it is compelling, people will share it on their own, or if it's I don't know.
It's the opposite of what Derek Halpern says. Yeah.
I was going to say, like, I'm probably somewhere in between, right? Derek Halpern is, 20% content creation, 80% marketing.
Yeah.
And, there's a fine line there.
Yeah. I would say I would say like 90% content, 10% marketing. But, that's coming from a guy who that's all I did was marketing.
Tell me about Listen Money Matters. I think a lot of Side Hustle Nation would like to tune into this. It's like a daily personal finance podcast.
Yes, it is a podcast that we talk about money. So it's me and my friend Andrew, who owns ListenMoneyMatters.com, and we were sitting down and we had teamed up. So Andrew helped me with getting advertisers on board with Swim University and monetizing it, and I told him I would help him design and brand Listen Money Matters, and then we ended up teaming up. And we would have these Skype sessions, and his wife heard us, just talking over Skype, and she goes, "You know what? You guys are funny. You should do a podcast." And we said, "Okay. So how are we going to do a financial podcast? There's so many out there. What's our take on this?" Well, I'm a 30-year-old guy who likes drinking beer, kind of sucks with money. I really don't know what I'm talking about. Andrew's an expert at money. He's had money his whole life. He's been a huge saver. He also likes drinking beer. He's also 30 years old. Okay. Let's do a funny, brash, cursing daily show for guys like us. Let's do it. Let's do a personal finance show for us. And so we get on every single day and we interview guests sometimes, and we have like little conversations with each other about just general things in money. It's not a show about, here's the how-to of picking the best stocks, even though we do have like an episode or two about that. But it's more about more like how Mr. Money Mustache approaches money, which is spend less, invest a lot, retire early, and in little things about money you may not think about, like how you cook and eat food at home, and how you buy things in your everyday life, and it's just more of a down to earth approach to managing and investing money. And it's been really successful, yeah.
Yeah, you've done an awesome job with it. I think the branding is really well done. I think you got another side hustle on your hands right there.
Yeah, we're just next step is monetizing that. So we were focused on the blog, and we used the podcast to bring people into the blog. And it turns out the podcast was doing way better than the blog. So we pivoted, and now the show comes first, and then the blog is the home base for the show. So it's actually second place.
Yeah, I've kind of discovered a similar thing. Like, for the first year, the podcast grew 3 times as fast as the blog, and it's more fun to put together because I get to talk to cool people like you.
Right. Yeah. So it is great. It's great for networking too. I mean, just being able to talk to Mr. Money and Mustache, that would have never happened. I talked to Chris Gillibo. I've talked to Chris Ducker. I've talked to all these guys who I admire in our space, and I would have not been able to do that if I didn't have something that provided value.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So you think it's selling sponsorships on it, or what's the monetization path?
Yeah, that's this month. We're going to FinCon, and we're looking to get advertisers on board. That is the goal for September and October. That's
Cool.
That's where we're going to make the money from. And then we also do affiliate links on Listen Money Matters, but we will not sell advertising on the website.
Okay, gotcha. Well, cool. Matt, thank you so much for joining me, everybody. This is swimuniversity.com and listenmoneymatters.com. We'll wrap things up with your number one tip for Side Hustle Nation.
Number one tip is create really good content and have fun creating it, because there is no sense in doing this stuff if you're not having fun every day.
I love it, Matt. Thanks so much. We'll end it there, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks, Nick.
This edition of the Side Hustle Show is brought to you by, once again, the Side Hustle Nation Inner Circle Mastermind Group, now accepting applications for a small group starting in October. If you've got an idea for an authority site or some other side hustle, and you want to surround yourself with other entrepreneurs working towards similar goals, look no further. Learn more at sidehustlenation.com/join and hit the big orange apply now button to get in touch. We'll set up a quick intro call to find out what you're working on, what you want to work on, and if this group is going to be a good fit. Again, that's sidehustlenation.com/join. I love the idea of selling pixels for dollars, which is essentially what Matt is doing with the ad sales on this site. And it's a beautiful thing. I remember selling my first banner ad placement for like $50 and super excited. And of course, it took some time and effort and traffic, of course, to get to that point. But it really opens your eyes to the possibilities. Like, somebody hands you money for essentially nothing, just like space, real estate on your site, like digital real estate. Very, very powerful stuff. I really love it. Anyways, thank you so much for listening. And be sure to grab the free downloadable PDF with all my notes and highlights at sidehustlenation.com/73 or in the episode description of your podcast player app. That's it for the show. Until next time, go out there and make something happen. And I'll see you next week in episode 74.
Thanks for listening to The Side Hustle Show at www.sidehustlenation.com.
Hey, you're still here. What's going on? Is there anybody you'd like to hear from on the show? Any topic you'd like to hear covered on an upcoming episode? Let me know. I'm currently looking for awesome side hustle guests to join me for upcoming editions. And if that's you or if that's somebody you know, definitely let me know. I'll be happy to see if it's a good fit. Anyways, thanks so much, and we'll talk to you soon.